Alright, so this is the month of October, and October is the month of creepy, spooky, gory, horrible things. So I've been doing a lot of reading of those kinds of books, but since it's still the middle of October and it's not time to do a wrap up yet, I'm just going to do a video about spooky reads that I recommend to you guys of books that I've read before. So I picked out 7 books that really gave me the chills while I was reading them, and by give me the chills, I mean I could not go to sleep that night because I was afraid that whatever was in that book was going to come get me. And that's how I judge a book, by how creepy it is. I know a lot of people feel that The Diviners by Libba Bray is creepy, but it didn't give me those kinds of chills that some of these books did. So if you're not into that kind of thing, or if The Diviners was way too scary for you, I don't suggest these. I mean, again, creep factor is subjective, but if you really like horror, or if you like being creeped out or freaked out, I highly recommend these 7 books because they're very, very good. You cannot have a list of spooky books without including at least one Stephen King book. Not to say that all of his books are creepy, some of them are just really, really weird and just kind of off the charts, but this book, Misery, gave me the creeps, mostly because of the ending. The rest of the story was not as creepy, just really horrible. And the background to this story is that this guy is a famous writer and he crashes his car, and his #1 fan finds him in the woods and decides that she wants to make him rewrite a story that she's in love with that he wrote called Misery. And the main character's name is Misery. I did not understand that about this book, but she's very crazy, and she basically locks him up in the house with her to keep him until he can rewrite this story to her liking. And while it may not be super creepy throughout the book, the ending is way, way creepy. So if you like Stephen King, definitely pick this up. Add this to your Stephen King repertoire. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon by Stephen King is also another very creepy book. It's a little different from what he's written. It's a lot shorter than a lot of the books that he's written. This book only clocks in at 262 pages. Usually his books are 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 pages, you know, whatever he felt like writing at that time. So this book is about this little girl who goes on a hiking trip with her family, and she gets lost in the woods. And all she really has with her are her wits, her intelligence to help her to survive, some food in her backpack, and her Walkman. This is a fairly old book, I guess compared to what I usually read, but I mean, he's been writing for forever. This came out in 1999. So she has a Walkman, and she uses this Walkman to listen to the Boston Red Sox, who is her favorite baseball team, and her favorite baseball player is Tom Gordon. And she uses Tom Gordon as a way to cope with what's happening to her and the super creepy things that are going on in the woods that she's trying to get herself out of, because I believe she's stuck in the New Hampshire woods and she has no idea where she is. And there's creepy things happening around her and chasing her, and she's having visions and things like that. And it's really creepy. Kind of makes me not want to go hiking and camping anymore. Makes me more afraid of the woods than I was before. But this is a pretty good Stephen King book. Bad Girls Don't Die by Katie Allender is a creepy book. I wasn't expecting it to be as creepy as it wound up being, even with this cover, because this cover is just, this is what drew me to the book, because the cover is so creepy. I wasn't sure how creepy it was going to be, because then it's also kind of pink and stuff, and the kids were a little younger in this. I think they're like 15, but it's definitely very creepy, really sends chills up your spine. It is part of a trilogy. It probably could have been a standalone. I didn't care too much for the second book, but this one is really, really good. The Girl from the Well by Rin Chupeco. This terrified me in ways that I can't really even cope with, because it's based on the Japanese folklore stories of the movie that spawned the movies The Ring and The Grudge, and kind of adds a little more to them because I guess she did research on this and is familiar with this folklore. So this just honed in on the nightmares and the fears that I have from those 2 horrible movies that scarred me for life. And this is just really good, though. It's about this kid who has these weird tattoos on him that move, and no one really knows where they came from, and his mom's in a crazy house. And this ghost, Okiku, finds him, and she's this girl from the well, and she avenges children who were harmed by others in their life. So if there's a pedophile who molested and killed children, she will go and kill him. And she finds the boy, his name is Tark, and she kind of sort of follows him around because he intrigues her because of these weird tattoos he has and the sensations she feels from him, because he's actually only 16. So I mean, what kind of 16-year-old has tattoos all up and down his body? The way that she writes this with the different folklore intertwined with the characters and the story is just great. And she's very graphically descriptive with the way the murders and the killings and everything happen. So if you're looking for a gore fix, if you're looking for a horror fix, this is your book. If you love The Ring, or if you love The Grudge, or if you're just looking to be scared by the same things that I was when, you're foolishly watching those movies in the dark by yourself, check this out. Oh, I forgot. This is also part of a duology. The second one isn't as creepy, but still just as good. It adds a nice note to the story. It does a nice closing for it. It's called The Suffering. Also very creepy. Goes to Japan, to the suicide forest, with a name that I can't pronounce, but cool and creepy. Cain's Blood by Jeffrey Gerard. This book is not so much creepy as it is gory. There are some kind of creepy aspects to it, but it is way more gory. It's about this secret government program that decided to clone serial killers to do more research on why certain people become serial killers. Is it nature? Is it nurture? And they're running experiments on them, and some crazy guy decides that he's going to release all of these serial killers, who are, by the way, at this point in time, young children and teenagers, between like 8 and 18. And it's kind of the result of what happens with that. It's very gory. There is a little bit of creepy stuff in there. There's some shadow men that are running around killing people. And it's really good. Jeffrey Gerard intertwines a lot of different plot points and points of view, and he does it really well. There is another book. It's almost like a companion to it, Project Cain. It's kind of the young adult version, so it's a little less gory. And if you read this, it kind of gives away some of the stuff that happens in here. But this is only told from the point of view of one of the children's serial killers, who was cloned from the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. For those of you who don't know, he's the cannibal killer. He killed and ate a whole bunch of gay men. So this kind of gives away what's in here, but both of them are really good. If you're looking for the adult version of the book, definitely go with this one. If you want to check out the young adult one, check out this one. But either way, I read both of them. I didn't really feel like I lost too much from reading this one before this one, but that's up to you what you want to do. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote is a non-fiction book. And this story takes place in 1959 in Kansas, where this family was brutally murdered by some strangers, and this crime stumped police for a period of time because they were like, well, who's just going to randomly murder this family? I mean, it's 1959. You didn't have the kind of crazy stuff going on then that you do now. And this book is creepy because Truman Capote just writes really, really well, and he strings you along, and he tells you some things and then just cuts you off, and later on you find out what he was actually trying to tell you. And it's just very well written. I read this book a long time ago, but I would reread this again because it's engaging, and it's just a really great nonfiction book that makes it creepy and weird at the same time. The last book on my list is Slasher Girls and Monster Boys by April Genevieve Tucholke. And this book I just read in September, so it didn't make it to October. I just had to read it. And this is a great book for the month of October. There are a lot of scary short stories in here. There were a couple that I was reading them at night for whatever god-awful reason I made that decision for. And I sat there in my bed and thought to myself, this was a mistake. I can't go to sleep now. I need to go to work tomorrow, and I can't go to sleep because I'm afraid that something's going to crawl out from underneath my bed and kill me. Thank you, April Genevieve Tucholke, for putting all of this together, because it terrified me. There were some stories that really weren't that scary, and there were some that I kind of rolled my eyes at because the source material was blatantly obvious. Like, the flicker of the fingers, the beat, the sigh. I enjoyed it ultimately because of the twist that's at the end, but it was very obvious that the source material was drawn from I Know What You Did Last Summer, and that kind of ruined it for me because I already knew what kind of sort of was going to happen. Some of my more favorite short stories in this were In the Forest, Dark and Deep, Hide and Seek, Fat Girl with a Knife, mostly because Jonathan Mayberry wrote that, and I'll read anything he puts out and love it. And I believe Stitches was also one that I really liked. So pick this up if you don't already have it. And if you do have it, read it for October. Read it on Halloween. Give yourself a real good scare because All Hallows Eve and then Halloween is when the things come out to play. So that is my list of creepy books for the month of October. Books that you should read if you want a good scare. Let me know what books creeped you out the most. If any of these were on your list, if you're going to pick these up. And I'm always looking for a good creepy book, unless it has to do with The Exorcist or the Amityville Horror. I've been to the Amityville Horror House, and even though they say that it's not necessarily haunted and that they all made it up, you feel something there. You really do. And I won't. It's too real for me. So I won't read that. But anything else, send me your recommendations. Bye!